Bonjour mon petit chifle, Amber here. Amber here. I was just saying to my mom back that I made a list of videos that I wanted to film in April, and I have one left on that list that I need to do. I've done my books I ride or die for video, my series I need to finish video, both of which are linked below, but I also wanted to do this particular video. If there's one thing you learn about me on this channel, is that I love a retelling. That's my favorite, like, sort of sub-genre, I guess, of book. If something is a retelling of anything, I'm automatically drawn to it. If something is even vaguely aligned with being a retelling, I'm automatically drawn to it. I love reading retellings. I am currently working on like 3.5 retellings of my own. Yeah, 3.5. Whatever, we'll talk about that when the time is right. But I just love taking something that is well known and then spinning it. I mean, I think that's why Once Upon a Time is my favorite show. That's essentially the whole gist of the whole show, is fairy tale creatures, twist it, put them in our world. I figured I'd sit down and go through a little quick list of my top, 6 favorite retelling, YA retellings. Most of these should be surprised. At least the first 3 on this, Amber, speak. Oh, there are 7. I forgot to write one down. At least 2 of these shouldn't be a surprise at all, because I talk about them all the time. Let's just get started. The first one, like I said, should be absolutely no surprise. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I have not shut up about it since I read it, and it's The Wrath in the Dawn by Renée Ahdieh, which is a retelling of 1001 Nights. I love this book with every fiber of my being. Follows Shahrazad, whose best friend was just chosen to be, okay, rewind. Every day, the king, Khalid, the Caliph of Khorasan, takes a new bride. No, every night he takes a new bride, and then come morning, she's killed. Shazi's best friend was what has just been chosen and murdered, and she volunteers to be Khalid's next bride in order to enact revenge and kill the king. It doesn't quite go to plan, and that's all I'll say. I have not read a Renée Ahdieh book that I didn't love. I recently read The Beautiful, and I have The Damned sitting right here, and I need to read it. So I just love the way she writes. Her worlds are so lush and like romantic, and her characters, Shazi and Khalid, are my OTP. Khalid ibn al-Rashid is the love of my life. Okay? And I will fight for him. I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. I didn't ask. Let's move on. The next retelling that I love is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig, which is a retelling. Okay, it's pitched as a retelling of The 12 Dancing Princesses, which it is, but there's also has a Edgar Allan Poe element in it, very much inspired by Annabel Lee, which I love. Say it with me, kids. Your girl's a hoe for Poe. And then I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm gonna leave that alone. There's also another element towards the end that I didn't see coming, but was shook. I was shook. But this follows, oh my god, what's the girl's name? Annalee. I don't know why I didn't think. Obviously, I knew it had something to do with Annabelle Lee. I just couldn't remember. Anyway, Annalee, who was one of 12 sisters. Their father is a duke or something on this island. Like I said, she was one of 12 sisters, but after their mother died, one by one her sisters have been dying off. Annalee is convinced that there is foul play involved, that her sisters are in fact being murdered, and she wants to figure out what's really going on, because the island and the kingdom believes that her family is cursed and is like wary of doing business with them. She wants to find out the truth before she's next, basically, and before her family and her island fall into destruction. And like I said, it's a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, so there are balls and dancing, there are ghosts, there are demigods, there's just like a lot going on, and I loved every second of it. It's very atmospheric, and I read it last fall, winter, and that's the perfect time to just open the window so it's as like chilly as possible, get a cozy blanket or a hoodie and just read this book in the most autumnal, spooky vibe possible, because there's some points that it's just like really disturbing and chilling. I buddy read this with my friend Christy, who I met at Booknet Fest last year. We both were just like raving about this book. I know Erin A. Craig has another book coming out that I am already really looking forward to. Yeah, House of Salt and Sorrow. It's also very underrated. I remember people were like talking about it before it came out, and then I think I've seen like 1 or 2 people actually talk about it since it's been out, and y'all are missing out. Speaking of underrated and y'all are missing out, and why am I the only person talking about this series? We have Sweet Black Waves by Christina Perez. Y'all should have known. Y'all should have been counting down how long it would take for me to talk about this book and this series. This is a Tristan and Isolde retelling, but it is told from the point of view of Branwen, who is Essie's cousin, lady's maid, best friend. She has, during the story we find out she has some sort of magic that's tied to their land. She meets Tristan. She saves Tristan's life at the time he's hiding his identity because he is from a rival kingdom, and the first book is kind of their story, their relationship. I don't want to go into too many details that could be spoilery, but this book hurt me. It hurt like deeply, to the point that I still think about this book frequently. I still get upset about this book frequently. Every time I talk about it, I mention the fact that I bought it completely on a whim when I was at BookCon back in 2018. I had never heard about it, had no idea what it was, but I was told that it was a twistin', is what I was about to say. Tristan and Isolde retelling, and I love a retelling. So that's all I really need to know. I've always loved the Tristan and Isolde stories and the movie, and so I was like, yeah, give it to me, yes. But I didn't expect it to wreck my life the way that it has, like completely. And then book 2, book 2 wasn't right, you know. Book 2, the amount of tears that I shed over that book, the amount of screaming I did over that book, I was not allowed any point to take a breath. And the final book in the series comes out this week. I think that my pre-order is about to ship, and I know, I'm sorry ahead of time, because I know my heart's going to be ripped out, stomped on the ground, left out in the rain, ran over by a truck, and then set on fire. And like, everyone in this book except Essie deserves better. Essie can choke, like, period. Branwen deserves so much better. I'll say it, Tristan deserves better, even though he's pissing me off. Mark deserves better. The countries deserve better. Please, anyone, read these books so I have someone that's not my mom that I can yell about them to, because she doesn't know what I'm talking about. She doesn't care. I mean, she's just like, shut up, I'm not interested. You taught me how to read, so these are the consequences. Alright, next we have To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, which is a dark Little Mermaid retelling. once again, why aren't y'all reading these books? So this story follows, it's dual points of view. It follows Lyra, who is this siren princess who is ripping out princess hearts and collecting them. I think like every year on her birthday she adds another heart to her collection, and then she disobeys her mother, and her mother turns her into the thing that she loathes the most, a human, with the assignment to kill our second POV, Prince Elian, who is the prince of the golden kingdom of Midas, but he would rather sail the seas on his beloved ship, the Sod, and kill sirens. Do you see where I'm going with this? So we have this clashing, we have like enemies to lovers, we have sirens, we have pirates, we have banter, and I just love this book so much. Another one, I knew I would like it because retelling, Little Mermaid, we love a pirate prince, but what? I just love this book. Like I said, all those things that I listed, I love the relationship between Elian and Lyra and kind of how it developed and grew. The ending was fine, especially because it's a standalone, so I guess it ended fine for a standalone. And honestly, I like the way it ended without spoiling anything because they each got a proper resolution, I'll say. I like the adventure that we went on in the book, and I have 2 To Kill a Kingdom candles in my shop if you're interested. Let's move on. So, sticking with some of my favorite Disney movies of all time, we have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kimmerer, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So, I love Beauty and the Beast. People are like, I'm tired of Beauty and the Beast retellings, and I'm like, I'm not. Especially when they're done well. And this book it starts off in our world in Washington, D.C. It follows, the book is another dual POV book. We follow Harper, who is this girl from DC, like I said. She and her brother have basically been taking care of themselves since their father left. Their mother is very sick and is dying, and her brother is caught up in some questionable things to keep them afloat and keep them surviving. She is with him on a job when she spots a girl being kidnapped and tries to rescue her, and she herself ends up being taken into Emberfall, the magical kingdom of Emberfall, where we meet Ren, who is our other POV, the Beast character, who is a prince who has been cursed to relive his 18th year until he can find a girl to fall in love with him before his monster form takes over and kills everybody except him and his guard, Gray, who is my cinnamon roll, and I love him, and I would fight for him with every breath in my body. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened, but anyway, so we are in the first book, we're in this castle with the 3 of them, and also once Harper comes, we start seeing finding out the lengths Ren goes to protect his kingdom and to ensure peace within his kingdom, and a lot of the stories, him and Harper working together to do exactly that, to prevent war with the neighboring rival kingdom. And I just love this book. I love all of these characters so much. I love Harper so much. She is just like this strong, smart, like empathetic character. And I didn't mention that she also has cerebral palsy, and I love that, like, such an important part of the story is saying that, like, yeah, I live with this, but it doesn't make me any less than. I'm not broken. I'm still like a whole person. Like I mentioned before, I love Gray with my whole heart. Book 2, A Heart So Fierce and Broken. Like, I have this book, I read this book, is more of Gray's storyline, and I just love my boy getting his things, doing his things. And one of the things I love so much is the dynamic between all 3 of them, Harper, Ren, and Gray. They so much remind me of Mary, Bash, and Frances from Reign, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. Specifically because, especially in season 1, that dynamic between the 3 of them. And just like Gray, I love Bash with my whole heart. I mean, I love Frances too, and like, no, we're not talking about that. We're moving on. But book 3 comes out in the beginning of 2021, the final book in the trilogy, and I am stressed because we are on the brink of war. There's a lot going on. We have 4 POVs in this book. Things are coming to a head. People are turning out or going down paths that I don't want them to. I think I like that there's a lot of talk about, especially in book 2, trauma and PTSD, and I really hope that the one particular character really gets some sort of help for that. Okay, so next is a book that I read a really long time ago, but I really liked it, if I recall correctly, and I'm putting on the list because of how I felt about it when I first read it. I do really want to reread it so I can finish the series, and it's Splintered by A.G. Howard, which is an Alice in Wonderland like retelling of sorts. I don't quite remember much about it, but I know that it has like more of like a gothic feel almost to it. I believe the main character is like the great something granddaughter of Alice Liddell, who I know they were always taught was like mentally ill, and I think she's the main character, I don't remember her name, Amy, Alice, Allie, Abigail, I don't know, I'm making things up, is taken to Underland, and that's all I really remember. But I really liked the dark feel of it. I liked his name, Morpheus, is it Orpheus? I don't know, something about a moth. Let's move on from that. So the last one, the one that I forgot, is one of the last books I read in 2019, and it's Romanov by Nadine Brandes, is that who that's by? Which is a reimagining of the final days of the Romanov family. So like a spin on the Anastasia story. I've always been fascinated with that story, with like what happens to the Romanov family, and I love Anastasia. One of my favorite movies ever. So obviously I'm drawn to this story, and I was really intrigued by the magical twist that was thrown in, and then like we get halfway through and I'm like, okay, what happens now? I really liked seeing the what happens now and the reimagining bit. I would really like to read more not Alice in Wonderland. I know there are other sort of like reimagining, retelling sorts of the Romanovs and Anastasia, and basically like probably what happens to Anastasia when she survives. I'd also really like to look more into like the historical facts of that. I used to study it, but I'm rusty. But I really liked it. It was short and quick, and I loved the message of like family and forgiveness was an important storyline. So that is my very brief list of my favorite retellings. I'm always open to adding more books to this list, so please feel free to let me know some of your favorite retellings, some retellings you think I'd really like and be interested in, and I will absolutely check them out. That would be fun if you all left me retelling recommendations, and then I did a whole video dedicated to reading retellings, because that's my jam. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon.